All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Thermal Gard Podcast. Today, another fantastic guest on, and I don't think I shared this with anybody, but kind of Austin, Emily, and I, when we talked about starting this podcast, this was a guest. We were like, we got to have her on. So anyway, proud to introduce Ronda Lehman. Thanks for coming on, Ronda.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. How's your day been so far?
It's great. I mean, Christmas is just a couple of days away and get to do what I love every day. Life's good.
Awesome.
You do a big family Christmas?
We do. We do lots of different Christmases here. We're all local, so it's good.
That's good.
My husband's family, our house, Christmas Eve, mom and dad's. I hauled off and had one of my kids the day after Christmas, so we got the birthday party this weekend. Yep. All the things.
Awesome.
A busy week is what it sounds like.
Definitely.
All right. And what is your favorite Christmas tradition?
Oh, gosh. Boy, you'd think I'd have prepared for this. My favorite Christmas tradition. I don't know if it's my very favorite, but it is one I really enjoy. Last Sunday night, our church did Christmas caroling. And we got 24 of us to go to people in the community that maybe they go to our church, maybe they don't, maybe they've had a recent surgery or just a rough year. And we carol to them, and it's kind of old timey, and I love it because I've always forced my kids to go, and now they like to go, and it's a great tradition, and I enjoy it.
That's amazing. Nobody does it anymore.
They really don't. Yeah.
We did it growing up, but I think that's amazing. I love that you guys don't do that.
It's fun.
All right. So let's jump into your story. Rhonda,
Okay.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up about 10 miles east of Lima in Allen East School District.
Okay. So you went to school at Allen East your whole
I
life?
did. Went there my whole life. Yep.
Mustang.
Boring, but yes. You're wearing the right color today there, Austin.
Oh,
Looking
thanks.
good.
All my cousins went there. I went to Ada.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So what were you into? Were you into any sports or academics?
I was, this is like my brag bit, right? So anybody that watches it, they can refute it, I suppose, but I was into everything. I was in show choir. I accompanied the choir on the piano, marching band, concert band, point guard on the basketball team, or shooting guard on the basketball team, cheerleader for basketball and football, student council, and valedictorian.
So what'd you do all your free time?
That's what I was going to ask.
So, yeah, I was a bit of I don't know how good I was at all of those things, but, small schools and you participate. And I was always very driven academically too. And so, yeah.
Gotcha. Did school come easy for you, or is it something you had to work on?
I'd say not like super, super natural. I wasn't one of those people that just didn't have to study, but I wouldn't say that I struggled along the way either.
Gotcha.
I got to college and I still knew how to study. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So out of everything you did, what was the most enjoyable for you?
Different things for different reasons. I mean, when you get out of school, when you were used to being in sports and activities, like girls don't do a pickup game of basketball. I don't know if you've noticed that, but so I miss that sports related team thing. But I also, because I just love music so much, there's just nothing like singing in a choir and hearing that around you. And so that was fun.
That's awesome. So where did after high school take you?
So after high school, I went to Ohio Northern University, just down the road. I didn't vary too far quite yet. And I went to pharmacy school.
Awesome. Did you major in pharmacy from the beginning, or was it something you added?
I did. So that's a great story too. So I actually, when I was 15 years old, I volunteered as a candy striper in the hospital. You know what a candy striper is?
I cannot say
You will have to look that up. Anybody here know what a candy striper is?
Don't they pass out candy?
No, they do not pass out candy.
Man.
It's kind of based on what I think the Red Cross girls, like back in the early like 1900s, and they wore this little like pinstriped pinafore. You have to look up what a pinafore is if you don't know what that is. But it's like an apron, dress apron. Literally, teenage volunteers wore that through the 1990s. So I was a candy striper. And I volunteered in the pharmacy and at a hospital, not the one I'm at. You do the math.
Right.
And really met some incredible people. And I was like, I think I want to do pharmacy. Knowing that Ohio Northern was kind of in our backyard and had such a great reputation for pharmacy, I was 15 when I decided I wanted to go into pharmacy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
go to pharmacy school.
Mhm.
What was the college life for you?
So I was very boring. It's like I fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
It was a big transition for me. I went from, being in everything, doing everything, to being really nervous that I wasn't going to make the grades like I wanted, and people kind of scared me about how hard it was going to be and all those things. So really I just buckled down and focused on academics. I taught piano lessons on the side for some extra cash, and met my husband a few years in, so that was productive.
We got to ask, how'd you meet your husband?
Oh, that's a great story too. My husband went to Perry to high school, but we were in the days of pre-internet, pre-cell phone, so I didn't really know he existed, because unless you see him at the Allen County Fair or at a ball game, you didn't know kids. And a mutual friend introduced us, and the first time we ever spoke to one another was on the step of the Allen County Fair Administration building during the county fair. I told my girls the other night, I go, "There's where I met your dad." They go, "Oh, that's so sweet." So every year at the fair, I'm like, "Remember meeting me?" He's like, "Shut up."
That's kind of awesome, though. So every year you go to the fair, it's very nostalgic for
It
you.
is. The fair is a very important part of my growing up. I forgot that I was in 4-H all through the years too. But it was a really important part of my growing up for me, my family, my extended family. It's where I met my husband.
Yeah. What'd you do in 4-H?
I did sewing, but that is not translated into adulthood. Can fix a button.
That's
if you
okay.
need me to.
I raised rabbits, and now I'm sitting here.
There
So,
you go. All right.
Stuff
Yeah.
changes.
Yes.
Okay, so you're in college, you're
Yep.
studying. Tell us about what a pharmacy student goes through. I mean, what's the college life like? A lot of studying, I'm guessing a lot of memorization. Walk us through that.
Yes, and I mean that's what it was like for me from 1993 to 1998. First of all, it's when they still did bachelor's in pharmacy, so you had the option of finishing with your bachelor or staying on and getting your doctorate. I graduated with a bachelor's, and then I went directly to Ohio State. I actually moved. That's right, I moved to Columbus, and got my doctorate in pharmacy after that. But at Northern, just a ton of studying. I mean, it was memorization, yes, and lab and compounding, and you had to learn how to make all this stuff. And clearly not a skill I use on the daily, but yeah, it was fun. I mean, looking back, it was fun, but it was very stressful and very competitive. And, all of that working towards being able to take your licensure and law exam.
Yeah.
How was it adapting from school at Ohio Northern to going down to Columbus?
I don't think I would have enjoyed it or been successful if I went straight from here to Columbus, just knowing who I was as an 18-year-old. I just wasn't ready, to be honest. I don't want to say I was like immature. I just don't feel like I was ready to leave the community. But as a 23-year-old, I was fine. I got an apartment. You're not all over the campus because you're basically in grad school. So you've only really got a building or two to go to. And it's a class of like 15. And so I did really well, I feel like, when I went to Columbus and got that kind of microcosm experience. And it was fun to finally be around restaurants and shopping and some things we didn't have around here.
Gotcha. So you moved to Columbus. Did your husband move with you? Were you guys still dating long distance?
We were dating long distance. Funny story, we also love to tell his grandpa, God rest his soul, when I said I was moving to Columbus for 2 years and I'd be back, his grandpa goes, "She's never coming back to you." I was like, wow.
Whoa.
Well, Grandpa, well, I did. And we just smiled, and I was like, no, seriously, I'm good. He went on to graduate school at the same time at University of Dayton. So we just kind of both had those aspirations. We weren't really bothered by it. We just said we know what we each want to do and that we're going to end up together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What did your husband study?
He has a bachelor's degree in psychology and minor in criminal justice from Bluffton. And then he went to UD and got a master's in counseling and education.
Oh, that's really awesome.
And that's
incredible.
not what he does today. It's the second time I've told someone that today. Yeah, he flips houses, does renovations, and we own a lot of rental properties.
Sounds like a fun hobby, though. and
Super
job.
handy, super handy.
Nice.
That's amazing. All right. So you're going through college, you go down to Columbus, you're kind of finishing up there, you're ready to graduate. What was that decision-making process like when you're getting to the end and you got to figure out where you want to go, what you want to do?
Yep. So we knew we wanted to move back around here. He was actually doing some counseling at the juvenile detention center at that time, so working in his field, and decided we wanted to come back here. I had at that point started interning at St. Rita's. I started there when I was 20 and worked there on the weekends. So I was kind of driving back and forth from Columbus to St. Rita's and working as a staff pharmacist. And so we decided we'd move back. I go to, of course, the folks at St. Rita's and say, what job openings do you have? And they said, well, we have an entry-level kind of manager job open in the pharmacy. And I was like, wow, I'm really kind of young for that. I'm only like 25 years old. I don't really know that I could manage the people that trained me. And so took a leap of faith, decided to do it. I actually had people discourage me. That's always nice, right? They're like, nah, you know your pharmacy stuff clinically. You should see patients. What are you thinking going into management? And I was like, yeah, I know. Well, maybe it'll just buy me a little time until something better opens up. Here I am.
Yeah. All right. So several things I want to dive into there. First of all, when somebody gets that kind of an opportunity for something they don't feel qualified for, they don't feel like they have the experience for, their trainers trained them, and you're going to be over them. Can you give some advice to somebody stepping into those positions?
How's the sayings go? God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Amen. So when you feel called, my MO throughout my whole career has been, let me see here. Do I have at least the basic set of skills to be able to do this? And do I have somebody who's got my back? Do I have a mentor? Do I have someone who sees something in me that maybe I don't quite see in myself that's going to be there for me? And at every single opportunity I've had, that's exactly what I felt. So when I started as that entry-level manager, I told the people I worked with, I enjoy organizing things. I love project management. Those were some of my first big projects. And I'm like, and I know how things run. So with your help, I feel like we can do some really good things here. And I would say the vast majority of people took to that attitude and that outlook. You're not in these jobs, spoiler alert, because you're smarter than everybody else. You're in it for a different set of skills and reasons.
Absolutely. I feel like you choosing the humility route says a lot about you as a person. And then really, that's early in your leadership career. And so your development, from the sound of it, you were absolutely perfect for that. So that makes a lot of sense.
Thanks.
So take us into those first few years of management. What were some lessons that you had to learn?
A lot. A lot. I always laugh at my husband and family who kind of journeyed with me on that ride. I just loved healthcare and love keeping the patient at the focus of what we do. And so when you keep that in mind, the answers come easier than people would think. Doing the right thing for people is not that hard when you really kind of tear all the details back. It was difficult learning how to lead others, and I threw myself into every training, everything that I could to try to make myself a better leader, a better manager of people at that time. And do that today too, but it looks a little different than it did back then. I was signing up for every class, and I went and actually went to Tiffin University and got my MBA. Those first couple of years married because I wanted to have the qualification. Once I found out that oh my gosh, management is actually kind of fun. Who knew? Then I decided I better go get the qualifications that really helped me understand what all was happening and what we were doing. And that was invaluable to be doing that while I was working, before we had kids. And so, yeah, lots of lessons learned, some tears shed, dare I say, at home alone with why is this so hard? But I think that really, really equipped me for the rest of my career. And I smile now because I would like to just challenge someone to show me something I haven't seen in the last 30 years at St. Rita's. Not truly, because every day is different. But from a management and leadership standpoint, there's an incredible amount of variety. There's also a lot of wisdom in doing that for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So after you were there for a few years, what was kind of next? Where'd you go to next? What'd you transition into? What was the natural progression?
Yeah, so got my MBA, continued to want to grow, learn about more parts of the hospital. Pharmacy was always the department that still reported to me, but I started to expand into oversight for the lab and radiology and what we call other ancillary services at the hospital. And I would just say, again, back to the kind of people would go, hey, you're good at that. How about expanding into this role or doing that? And just learned a ton along the way and loved working closely. So now I'm a director, working closely with those managers who were true subject matter experts and understanding even more about how the operations and how things work. And just had lots of amazing mentors within not only St. Rita's, but also our larger health system that just gave me a lot of opportunities, and it just kind of kept growing and was a lot of fun. There was a big pivot, I'll say, in my progression where I had always worked on the acute care of the hospital side and love it, and had the opportunity to go and work on the ambulatory side or more the physician practice side of things. So I spent about, I'd have to look back, maybe 8 years as the chief operating officer on physician practices. So like the practices in Ada and Grove and Bluffton, UNOH, all those, that was the part that I led. I learned so much. I got to work side by side with Dr. Herb Schum at the time, who was, again, a great mentor. And yeah, so that was kind of what it allowed me to do is get this breadth of experience, both on the outside the walls of the hospital healthcare, as well as inside the walls of the hospital, which I think was just ultimately positioning me for the role I'm in today.
Yeah. Can you walk us through how you chose mentors? Maybe some were just automatically given to you and then some you had to choose. What was your vetting process when approaching people and wanting to learn from them?
I don't know that I had like a very well-defined vetting process. For me, it came about, I would say, just a little more naturally. People you gravitated towards because you liked how they led, you felt like you had something to learn from them, and just kind of helped create opportunities where you could spend a little more time with them in that. I've also been really blessed by just through our formal reporting structure, having a relationship with people I reported to that made tremendous mentors. Also had a couple on the way that wouldn't have. And so I always tell everyone, you have something to learn. Sometimes it's learning what not to do when you watch someone above you do that. And sometimes it's exactly what you want to do. So I hope that over time, my own leadership style is really pulling all those positive things from people I've gotten to see and still see lead, and shedding the things that I know aren't effective or that aren't helpful.
Yeah. What were some things you did learn from mentors on what not to do, how not to lead, how not to make a decision a certain way?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably a couple of the biggest pitfalls that leaders can fall into is, one, assuming you have all the answers or assuming you know all the facts, and trying to fix something for people that you don't know enough about. So it kind of goes hand in hand with the other thing, and that is just people who are not great communicators or aren't as transparent about their decision-making process. And I may be guilty of falling a little too far on the transparency side of things, but I think there's a lot of trust that's instilled with people when you're authentic about what you know and don't know, and frustrated and happy, and kind of being able to be that authentic leader for them. So I probably struggled most reporting to people that were incredibly, kept their cards so close to the chest that you didn't know what to anticipate. And that was kind of the hallmark thing. I never want people to be worried about bringing me bad news, feel like they're concerned about the reaction I might have, or try to anticipate what they think I want them to do. Ew, who can do that, right? I'm like, oh, those have been some of the worst professional relationships, is trying to say, like, is the person going to be upset, or what do they really want? Was that a suggestion or an order? Because I'm kind of confused. I tell all my people, I don't want you to spend a single sleepless night over any conversation we've had or something you're not clear about. Just call me.
Have you ever, like in the course of all these mentors and learning how to be a leader and things, have you ever been under someone or learning from someone who had a very different leadership style to you, but was still effective? And what was that relationship like?
Yes, absolutely. One of the earliest leaders in the pharmacy department for me was a gentleman who actually, I think he's probably retired now, but he moved to Michigan after a few years, and he was a very reserved guy. He was very much an introvert, and I don't think you have to be a big, crazy extrovert to be a great leader. But he was steadfast. He did instill trust in people, and he was just a really strong individual to emulate some of those behaviors. So usually for me, it's when I meet someone who's more introverted than I am, which doesn't take meeting them and seeing how effective that they can be with not being quite so out there is a good thing that I can continue to learn from.
Yeah. What are maybe some things you do today, just in your current role, when you meet new people or you bring somebody else on, underneath you, to get them to realize, like, okay, this is how we run things here. This is how we do things. This is the culture we're creating.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we expect you to act. This is how we expect you to make decisions. How do you pass on that culture and your expectations to people who are new?
Love that. So for a number of years, from really when I started in this particular role as president in 2019 until like last year, or in 2024, we're almost 25. So for the first 5 years or so, my executive team, there was no turnover, which is kind of unheard of with the pandemic and a lot of different things. But because of retirement and some different career paths, we did have a couple new executives join. And so I had the chance to kind of, I'll say, reinforce what I felt like we'd built so that we continue to have that same culture. So for me, the culture of St. Rita starts with the executive team. Always does, always will. And then that should cascade to our directors and managers and other people that lead. So some of the things that I very upfront say to those new leaders are things like, there's no eggshells in administration. Nobody gets to come in and just act like they're having a bad day and we all have to tiptoe around you. Annoying, it's not productive, and nobody wants to try to figure that out. So I really hate walking on eggshells in any work environment. We should all just be able to come. If you're having a bad day, just tell us, I'm struggling today, and then we'll at least know it's not us, or whatever it is. Or if it is, tell us. The no surprises kind of rule of don't let any of us be surprised, because there is such a big place. Something's happening in Dr. Owen's area or Lindsay Paul's area or another one of our leaders' areas. Make sure that you're keeping the rest of the executive team informed, because we need to be supportive of one another. And so I talk a lot about, we want to know what key decisions you're making, because first of all, a lot of our decisions cascade into other parts of the hospital, and we need to be able to understand it, bounce it off each other, and be able to support it when we're talking to folks too. So those are some of those leadership principles. So just really encouraging people to feel like you don't have to solve all the problems. You've got a team, a core group of people that want to hear about those things and help you, even though that's still your area of responsibility. Thank goodness I don't have to problem solve all those things by myself.
Absolutely.
Embrace that.
Yeah.
Yes. So you emphasize the importance of communication, which I think we could all say we agree with that.
Yep.
How do you navigate again with somebody who may not be the best communicator?
I think just, again, a continuous feedback for them. If that is something that they know that they struggle with, just trying to continually encourage them, kind of draw things out. I mean, we do touch bases with I do touch bases with all of my direct reports and executives, and kind of drawing those things out and making sure that we're communicating some of those things well. It doesn't come as natural for some people. And some people may feel like, I've already told everybody that, and the rules, communicate. And when you think you have, go communicate it again, because it takes people multiple times, things to hear. So I think you have to work on it and be conscious of it and keep drawing it out of one another.
So when you're trying to foster this, active leadership, this communication and those kinds of things like that in the people under you, and you're trying to get them to foster that and, make it trickle down, you want to carry on through the whole organization. How much of that is the culture of the organization and the way that you guys work, and how much of that is active, policy-driven kind of stuff?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, I wish I could say that it's really policy-driven, they're just standards of behavior and expectation. And there are. I mean, we literally have things about, this is how we are to communicate with one another, and this is the way that you communicate a handoff between patient floors or whatever those things are. But at the end of the day, it's got to be your culture that embraces that and makes those kind of frictionless communications. And so we're not done, and it's always an ongoing challenge. And I always joke and say one of my many duties is keeper of the culture. That's a heavy lift, and I will tell people it's probably one of the things that can frustrate me the most is when we bring people on board at any level that have behaviors that are really inconsistent with that. How do we address that timely? How do we hold people accountable to those things?
Yeah, it's challenging stuff. So as we keep going through your story, you're getting, higher up in management, overseeing multiple departments. Kind of what was next? What was the leap of faith in 2019 to take over? How all did that go?
Yeah, so Mercy Health, like many other health systems, continues to go through different changes and iterations. And we had just before the pandemic, it felt like just before to us, joined with Bon Secours, another health system, which means good help. They were located mostly on the East Coast. And so Mercy and Bon Secours had just merged. We felt like we were still kind of babies in that new relationship. And so there were some changes happening with how we were structured. The Toledo market, the Lima market used to be under some of the same leaders. So there were some shifts in that. I had been serving for just a short time as kind of the lead person in Lima, but reported to someone in Toledo. And as we made some of those, again, adjustments, we had someone leave the organization, and I was like, So when I heard this person was leaving, I ran to my office. I called my husband, and I said, hey, so-and-so's leaving. What do you think? He goes, well, you should apply for that. I go, should I? He goes, are you kidding me? Are we even having this conversation? He always has more faith in me than I have. It's a beautiful thing and a partner. And I said, I feel like you're right. And I felt that way because of what I said a little bit ago. My experience had lent itself across our market, across our ministry, as we call it. And so again, I felt compelled, called, whatever words you want to use to say, I don't have all the answers. I promise you, I will care tremendously about what happens here. And I know who to call about everything.
Hey, that's a great skill.
It is a fun skill. It's a great skill. It's that familiarity to go, I love this place and I'm committed to the success of this entire, what we do here. So I'm going to do it. Fun fact, men and women vary considerably when they talk about new job opportunities. I think the statistics, I'll probably mess it up a little bit, is like men will apply for a new job if they think they have like 60 or 65% of the skills. They're just like, yeah, it'll be close enough. And they apply. Women won't even apply for jobs unless they think they have like 90% or more of the skills checked off. So there's accurate. A gap. There's a gap in us women feeling that confidence and sticking ourselves out there, to which my next call was my sister, who I said, do you think I'm too young for this? She goes, would if you were a man, would you be asking yourself that question? I was like, no. What is wrong with me?
Those are wise words from your sister at that
right?
moment.
It was very wise in that moment. And she was saying that not to like disparage. I love my husband. But she told me that just to kind of help me see this through a better lens. And so, yeah.
Where does that, like, as you've gone forward, you've always been like ready and willing to like do more, climb further, like take a higher position over and over and over again. What kept you from like becoming satisfied or feeling like, well, this is as far as I need or want to go? Where does that drive to like continue to grow come from?
Very good question. I would say it comes from a couple places. You said an interesting word. You said satisfied. And I would tell you, I'm a little abnormal in that I don't, like if you told me when I was chief operating officer on the physician practice side, like, that's it. That's where you're going to spend the next 10 years of your career. I'd been like, cool. Because I loved what I did. I've never felt dissatisfied in where I was at. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, I love goals. I think goals are great. But if they are creating a distraction from you doing your best where you're at, and I see that, I hate to say it, but I'll see people and be like, yeah, I feel like I don't need your job. And I'll be like, I didn't even think I needed my job. What? Like, there's so many. I encourage the next generation to bloom where you're planted, to like embrace what you're doing, because that's how that next door is going to open. So I was always satisfied and never felt like, oh, I deserve to be, or I should be, and if you told me right now, Rhonda, you're 50, Let's have a moment of silence for that. This is where you're going to write out the next 10 years of your career, 15. I'd be like, cool. I love what I'm doing. And I've got so many ideas still of things we could be doing better and what we can do in this community. And if something different happens, I'll assess it then. That drive, I hate to say it, he probably won't listen to it anyways, but my dad, kind of relentlessly pushed us girls. There's 4 girls. He never reminded us that we were just girls or that we shouldn't do everything. I mean, he's just like, let's go. He is phenomenally driven himself. He's 82 and he's still working full time. I probably couldn't find him right now if I tried. He's so busy. But he just always, if you're not working, you're dying. Let's go, live, embrace new things. And so us girls got a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm just curious myself, what was that interview process or that transition process like for you? I mean, was there an application? Was it just meetings? Was it a phone call? Like, how did everything fall where it ended up?
So not unlike a few of the other promotions along the way, it was that the person was leaving abruptly enough or not in a bad light at all. So I don't want to say that at all. But they were leaving in a short enough order that to have a big national search was going to be challenging. And so I immediately said, I can fill in. I can be your interim person for the next month or what you need. So I'm told that as they move through that process, I mean, there's no greater interview than doing the job, right? That as they looked at other candidates or other potential candidates, that I would be what they'd wanted. And so just kind of slid into that. And that happened a few times along the way. There have been other jumps that I have made that have been keeping my resume up to date and approaching it like I'm interviewing an external organization because I wanted to let them know I still got my A game. I would never, if they told me I needed to go through a formal interview process, I'd have done it. I'd been like, time and place. My girls and I have a son too. My girls and I were talking that same night about resumes and CVs because one is just starting hers, the other is way past that or in that journey. And I said, girls, I keep my CV updated like every 6 months. They're like, you do? I'm like, yeah, I've been at St. Rita's 30 years, but to me, just good hygiene of where you're at professionally. Are you still growing and developing? Are you making sure that you're accountable to yourself?
Your old window cleaner is trash. Ditch it and get Dudley on duty. It's what the pros use.
Yeah. So this is maybe too broad of a question, but you do have kids working on this. So as a current sitting president of a huge organization, what is something on somebody's resume that you're like, that stands out? That's different.
So I would answer that question really differently today than I would have maybe even 10 years ago. But for me, and it goes back to the culture discussion that we had, physicians are a great example because I don't see a lot of resumes, to be honest, besides executives and physicians these days. And a lot of people can check a lot of boxes. You did your residency, you did all the things. What we're looking for now and what we really, really want to understand is, do you have a servant heart? What things have you demonstrated that show that you aren't just in this because it's healthcare, but you're in this because you want to serve? And does Catholic healthcare fit with your beliefs and understanding? It doesn't mean you have to become Catholic. It just means you're signing up for this. I hope it feels okay because it's going to have to. And so I look at much more of do you have things on there that tell me that you know how to serve other people, whether that's mission work or charitable things, or even just how you express it in an interview that tell me that you're going to understand that what we're doing is bigger than the direct care that we provide every day.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I would be curious. So you're a mom. What's it like been trying to balance like having a really fulfilling and active career and professional life with being a full-time parent and doing all the things that are related to that?
Austin, I've never been asked that before. I get asked that a lot. No, it's great. And hopefully I'll give the somewhat consistent answer. There's always seasons, right? There's seasons that it was harder than others. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's been just the support of my husband, the support of my family and his family that are around here that have really enabled me to do what I do. So when I say to Gerald, yes, it's Gerald, like a hard G, not Gerald, but it's Gerald. And I say, I can only do what I do because of you. And he goes, oh, stop, whatever. And I go, no, seriously. Because all my life, what I wanted to really do is be a wife and a mom. And yes, I love the career side and I love what we get to do, but he doesn't realize just how enabling that has been for me to be able to feel supported in all of those things. Mm-hmm. And like I said, there's always challenges. I try not to miss things. Although if you ask my kids now, they'll tell you the things I missed. It's really nice of them to keep track.
Just a
but
whole
it was
list.
Pretty few is what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. Really few and far between. They laugh because they're like, our mom will be the one that's all dressed up in the stands, but she's there. And I'm like, that's right. They also, I'm humbled because the Athena Award this year, I turned 50 and get the Athena Award. I should just hang it up. But I'm so grateful for them because they're proud of me. I don't know why. I'm just their mom, but they're so stinking supportive of me and talk way nicer than most teens and young 20s speak of their parents, I think. And I just appreciate it. And I'm so proud of what they've turned into, who they're turning out to be, and hope that I'm just grateful to be their mom.
Yeah. On that, if there's one thing you're really proud of that you did raising your kids, what was that one trait, that one thing you did with them that they can pass on to their kids someday?
I hope it's not cliche, but there's nothing if I haven't introduced them to our Lord and Savior. That's all I was ever supposed to do, is make sure that they grew up knowing what Christ did for them in the season of Christmas, right? What Christ did for them, who he is, and that should be the rock and the foundation of their lives. They are not perfect people. Do not get me wrong, nor am I. But I just smile. My 16, almost 17-year-old the other day, she definitely probably won't listen to the podcast, but I said to her, she's talking about, when I get married, when I have kids, and I do that, I go, you gonna take your kids to Sunday school and church like we did? And she goes, duh. I was like, thank you.
That's awesome.
That's what you instill in them, period. They can get through anything else.
Yeah. Okay, so you become president. You were going to be interim. They hire you full time as that position. What was that first year like filling this new role?
Horrific, because the pandemic happened within 4 or 5 months of assuming that role. It was basically like fall of 2019, and I kind of get my team aligned, and I got a couple new executives that started January, and they're like, yay, rah, rah, Ronda. And then they're like, oh my gosh, we had no idea that following you meant following you into this fire that we all of a sudden started on. So forever they'd go, yeah, I started this job in January of 2020. And then they look at me and I'm like, what can I say? It was really, really hard. It was really hard. And yet I knew that I had a team behind me that was just so committed to doing the right thing. And we were all just trying to figure it out. And so I was not in the military, but I can imagine that that's kind of the brotherhood type of feeling that people in the military would feel after going through difficulties and making multiple decisions on the fly and throughout the day and for the community and adjusting. And so it was trial by fire, and it was really fun. Once we got through like 20 and 21 and part of 22, I was like, I thought this was supposed to be over. Once we really did get through all of that, to go, okay, now goals, projects, strategies. Let's do something other than just, surviving. Exactly.
And I've been wanting to dive into this because what a wild time to be alive. So what was it like for you guys as a whole health system, a lot of employees, a lot of sick people? We all saw the news. What a crazy, crazy time to be in the position you were in? What was kind of the first date where COVID was on your radar? And then what did everything just go pure lockdown, seal off the floors, travel nurses? Like, can you take us through that progression?
I don't want to take you clear through it. It was not fun, but I will tell you this. I journaled. I started journaling right away. And each day started saying like what was happening at my house, what was happening at work. Because I felt like it was going to be a really important time that we wanted to keep. And I haven't read it for a few years. I probably should. But it had some pivotal days in it, like pivotal kind of junctures with things that were happening that really resonated with me. Because I still had 3 kids in middle school, junior high, high school, and they were home, and I was like, I'll be right back. And then I'm not for hours and hours and hours. And oh gosh, it was a sobering time. It was scary. You have to make sure that you're not scared into immobility, right? You can't have a freeze moment. You got to be still assessing, figuring out, strategizing. I did have my own personal kind of revelation. One morning before work, I was exercising and I had the television on in the workout room watching COVID updates. And my son came to the dorm to me and goes, didn't you just do that all day yesterday? Turn it off. I was like, wow, he wasn't wrong. So trying to protect my own psyche a little bit. Also recognizing that, and I just prayed, God, give me strength for whatever this is supposed to look like in the next however long. Help me to not be afraid and help me just do my best. And that's coming from an administrator. So I don't want to say by any stretch of the imagination that I went through what some of our frontline nurses and doctors and respiratory therapists and housekeepers, and their exposure was 100-fold what my exposure was. But I will tell you, and I am proud of this, there was a lot of hospitals across the country where leadership stayed home and led from afar, and it would have been easy to do, right? Everybody's supposed to stay home. Well, I don't have to be there. I'm not laying hands on a patient. I felt it was critically important that our entire team showed up every day, and we did. Because if their lives were at risk and they were going to be there, I was going to be there too. And if that was running supplies to a location for them or helping bathe a patient, bathing COVID patients, it's the things I did. I did it alongside them, and our whole executive team did. I'm proud of us for that. Then I think to myself, because it wasn't just on the work front, you were going through all those things. My own parents got really, really sick. That was so scary. They're elderly, they're nearby. My sisters were around, but who's dropping stuff off for mom and dad? And then I'll never forget the day they decided they were just going to bring dad needed to go be seen in the ER. And he has a lot of comorbid conditions. And I was so afraid because I knew what I was seeing every day. And boy, if you had that many comorbids and got admitted after you come into the ER and get on a vent, it was going to look really bad for you. It was scary. It was scary. So grateful that, those days are behind us, and sad for the experiences that our staff still carries with them and for the people who lost someone, but also felt like there's a lot of blessings in that midst too.
Well, I want to acknowledge while you were telling that story about how strong your leadership skills are for you to step up. You chose to be with your employees, work with them and help them rather than hanging out your house and staying quote unquote healthy.
Thank
I think
you.
that
It feels
very,
embarrassing
very
for me. I have a
admirable.
hard time taking that compliment, but thanks.
Well, we've asked, I think, almost every guest who's come on about COVID because, it's thinking back on it, it's such a surreal time. Nothing makes sense. Even to this day, there's still just question marks people have,
Sure.
And so you obviously being a hospital, I definitely wanted to hear about that.
Yeah.
But one thing I did want to ask is, you're there, you're serving with your team, or, you're literally stepping down, doing things that you would never have done before. Although it was so challenging, I can't imagine a more valuable time, like you said, to learn those lessons, to gain that credibility, to build that culture like you're saying, when you go into situations like that, you're going to war with your brothers and sisters. And if you didn't know each other before, you know each other now. And now you have each other's back.
Yeah.
And so it definitely did turn into a positive. I think for even in the community, the country as a whole, a lot of loss, but there were a lot of good things that came from it too.
I would agree wholeheartedly. Found out what was important in many ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. Would you ever release your journal as a book?
I don't know that it's worthy for that, Rylan, but that's very kind of you.
Hey, if you need an editor, I went to school for that. I'm happy to help.
I better go back and look at it again. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Like I said, it was contrasting the home, the here, what DeWine was saying, what all of Dr. Amy was saying. It was, I don't know. I'll have to just contemplate that.
I think you should. I think you have a unique perspective that people would be interested in. And like I would be interested to read it just because I don't really envy your shoes. Honestly.
I'm humbled by the experience though, and I hope you guys hear that because no one else wanted to be in this job during that for sure. Yeah. But I would just say I'm humbled by the people around me that they're the real heroes. They're amazing. Yeah, because you had the politics too, and oh my gosh, that was almost as hard as dealing with the illness as just the controversy, no matter where you stood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as things were starting to calm down and you were able to kind of go not back to normal, but back to the point where you could, like you said, you could pursue those new ideas and those new projects. What were some of the things that were like, okay, let's try something else now? Like, what were some of those first things that you started to implement and do?
Yeah. So again, giving all the credit away for some of these things because it's our clinicians and our experts that have brought some of these things. But a few of these things, I would say, I'll name two projects, and they're on complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but there's a tie back to COVID for both of them. We had to make the decision during COVID about whether or not we were going to still accept transfers in. And that was a very conscious decision to say, every patient that calls from Van Wert, Coldwater, Joint Township, Kenton, Ada, all these surrounding communities, especially the ones who have a little hospital there, and they want to transfer to us, the answer is yes. Our chief nurse at the time was like, excuse me? I was like, the answer is yes, because they need us. We're the largest facility in a regional area for them. And the answer is yes to all the transfers in. Well, that yes started to drive up our acuity or sickness of the patients we get, and that has carried on. Because of that, we have added some really amazing services. We do something called ECMO, ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, which is basically, to lay people, the highest form of life support available. We offer that now at St. Rita's. We offer some different types of acute procedures that I don't know that we would have if we hadn't have been pushed that direction to be that key resource for all those outlying hospitals. So that's the really technical side. The more community side was we had a lot of people that exited the workforce, decided that a single income household was good for their family, and that's great. But we also had a lot of people, a lot of child care centers that closed throughout the community because people weren't working, and that's a really, really tough game to sustain. So you may recall a few months ago, we opened Mercy Tots. So we opened a child care center in downtown Lima. And I'm really proud of that because it is a community need for sure, but it's even a more, that need is even greater than it ever has been before because of a lot of the closures and changes and the predominantly female workforce that we have at St. Rita's needing, dedicated childcare to support them. So it's open to more than just Mercy Health employees, but that truly kind of that idea really, the idea has been around for decades, literally decades, but these turn of events really made it come to life.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So you guys, let's talk about community involvement because you guys are involved in a lot. And I think you, and there are some other players in our community as well, but specifically Mercy Health does a lot for our community. They support a lot of things and it means a lot. I'm involved in a lot of things. I try to be, I see your guys' name everywhere and it means a lot. I know certain things you guys have sponsored, written checks for that you didn't have to, but you did it because it made our community better. And that means a lot. So can you talk about why that's important to you guys as an organization, maybe things you look for when looking to support something? And I don't know if you want to talk about who makes those decisions or your guys' heart behind it, but can you just walk us through that?
Absolutely. So we get way more requests than we can fulfill. And
Sure.
that's a hard thing because people will come to us with things that are good and worthy. But if we spend money on every single, I'll say, smaller event that comes by, we don't have the money when it comes to it to move kind of the needle in a big way in the community. So we've tried actually in recent years to be a little more intentional about that spend. But that spend is also a core of who we are. So big picture wise, we're a nonprofit healthcare organization. And some people go, well, it doesn't look like it. I've seen my bill. And I'd say, I promise you, we don't get paid. Once you get billed, that's a whole nother podcast. But we take our tax exempt status incredibly seriously. And when we have been questioned, I'll say, of wait a minute, you should be tax exempt. Yes, you want us to be tax exempt because we contribute back to the community 4 times what we would have paid in taxes. And so we measure that on that side. And to us, it's a part of our mission. And it's a part of, quite frankly, being able to easily justify our tax exempt status. So pouring back to the community is a fabric of who we are. So what kind of projects and things get prioritized? So that is something that, every 2 years we do something called a community health needs assessment. And we do that in partnership with other really important agencies in the community, Health Department, United Way, WOCAP, lots of different people that do good in their community. And we try to understand what are some of the biggest needs and the biggest challenges that we face. Mercy gets involved in some things that maybe some people would be like, wait a minute, why are they doing that? Well, it's because of this thing that's become really mainstream called social determinants of health. And I think we've always known this, but we've never articulated it well. That it really doesn't matter, whether or not you're taking your Lipitor if you're about to be evicted, right? Or it doesn't really matter if you are going to your annual mammogram if you don't have enough to eat tomorrow. And so part of improving the health of a community has to be looking at some of their basic needs and trying to not necessarily do it all ourselves, but partner with people who can make that difference. So really strong partnerships in things like the Children's Hunger Alliance. We know kids can't grow up healthy if they don't get regular meals. Working closely with things like Our Daily Bread and having a coalition that we're working on some housing, not because we want to be landlords. We don't actually. We want to provide healthcare, but we know that a safe and stable place for people to live is part of their health. So that's the lens we look through. Is it always perfect? No. But we also have a small core group of people that approve those requests and look at it every year on a continuum and say, how does that make sense? Does this fit with where we're at?
That's awesome. One thing I also want to highlight, I guess, is so you're very busy. Could you walk, at least I assume, could you walk us through what a typical day for you, even though you mentioned it's usually different, what does a typical day for the president of Mercy Health look like? And then also, how do you shut it off when you go home and then turn it back on when you have to?
Oh, let's see. Okay, so a typical day. I get up at 5:15 every day.
Okay.
And I go down in the basement and I exercise for at least about 45 minutes or so. Get ready, head to St. Rita's. So I start my day pretty early, but I decided a few years ago if I didn't exercise very first thing in the day was starting to get away from me because of kids' sports and activities. So always work out religiously, maybe excessively, because I'm like a 7 days a week workout girl. Go to work. Have lots of emails, lots of meetings. I never have a day that I don't have meetings, but lots of all of those things. Interspersed in a day of emails, meetings is hopefully rounding some, getting out on the floors, being able to see some of our staff. Also community things. So that in this role has obviously taken a more of a forefront, especially in the last few years, whether that's Rotary or a ribbon cutting or Sertoma or whatever that may be. Representing St. Rita's in some of those spaces is a part of the role. Through the evenings, I do try to shut it down, but there's a number of groups that meet in the evenings, mostly our medical staff group. So whether that's a med exec committee or a board, sometimes those spill over into the evenings. one of my predecessors, Jim Reber, who's still in the community, he always said to me, Rhonda, you should never be spending more than one evening at St. Rita's. I'm like, all right, I'll work on that. So a good week is only one, maybe 2 evenings that are tied up as well. A great week is I don't have any evening things. I try to get home by like 5. So shutting it off. Ooh, we'll get back with you on that. Part of the problem is I just love it.
Yeah.
I just love it. And here's the other thing. When my executive team, when one of them texts me, it may just as easily be something funny they want to tell me about as it is like a work issue, because I just love them. They're just great people. And I want to see the picture of the grandbaby or you're never going to believe what my wife said, whatever it is. We have that relationship with each other that it does kind of blur it over time, because they can also go, holy smokes, call me. And I'll be like, okay. And we'll talk something through.
Yeah. So for the person who said, I want your job, how many hours are you putting in every week?
Oh, I know. I think in our culture, we wear overworking as a badge of honor. So I'm trying to break that. I think about St. Rita's like 7 days a week. But how much time do I physically spend in the building? 45 to 50 hours a week.
Okay.
Gotcha.
That's better than I thought you were going to say.
I mean, here's the other thing. Another benefit from COVID was Zoom meetings. And because we are such a large ministry across multi-states, there is no physical location for some of the meetings I attend. So we try to be flexible. And I want my leaders to be flexible. I want to be in this role and I want to do it well for as long as I can. And I know that doesn't come from burning myself out. So fault me if you must. I'll take it.
So I guess, obviously your journey's not over. You still have lots left to give, a lot left to do, like you said. But looking back on what you have accomplished and how far you have come, what's it been? Because obviously, like, you went right into healthcare. You always wanted, since you were 15, you wanted to be, do the pharmacy and then go from there. When you look back on rising through healthcare to administration, and then maybe you meet people that are in like the business world or something like that, and then they get into hospital administration, where do you when you have that interaction or when you see those people, how do you see the difference? How do you see the difference in the way that those people are operating versus how people like you are operating?
Yeah, there is sometimes a pretty distinct difference between people who go into healthcare administration from the business world. And I've met some really amazing people that have done that, and they have great hearts and they're doing a great job. To be honest, I feel like having an executive team at St. Rita's like we have, that I think almost all of us were trained, quote unquote, clinically, just gets a tremendous amount of trust from the people that you lead. There's something a little different about talking to a physician when they know that you had the exact same class as a third-year med student at Ohio State before you did your PharmD. They go, she kind of gets this. I'm not saying I'm a physician, but if you're a nurse, you kind of talk on a different playing field. And I think there's some trust that you get out of the gate, and it's yours to grow it or not in those roles. But there's been some great people that are business-minded that also are part of healthcare. Because again, back to that, are you mission aligned? Are you ministry aligned?
One thing I've just curious to ask you as well is, how do you remember people's names so well?
You said so well. I feel like when I walked away from you last, I was like, it's Rylan, because I don't know any other Rylans.
Are you serious? I can't. That blows my mind.
Why?
Do you remember the second time you said hi to me? It was when you won the Athena Award.
Yeah.
You walked past me. I believe it was on stage. You said, "Hi, Rylan." Yeah. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the second time I've ever spoken to this lady in my life." And she remembered my name. I was like, that's the difference between me and Rhonda. And
no,
where she's
it's
at
not.
And where I'm at.
No. I try really hard. I'll tell you that. But I am not perfect. Today, someone showed up at St. Rita's and they go, Rhonda, that one lady's here. I go, what is her name? They go, I don't know, but she's waiting to talk to you. I go, just give me a minute. I didn't come out. It took me like 4 minutes. I go, I'm getting to it till I could call her by name. I think calling people by name is important because my dad's a salesperson. So yeah, he clearly instilled that. And I don't always get it right, but man, I try. So I'm just on a trying journey.
Well, man, I'm on the trying journey, but you are way
I
ahead
don't
of
know,
me
man.
because I
I
was
try.
floored.
That could
You
be a
are
great
kind.
T-shirt. I'm on the trying journey.
Yes, I
There
am.
you
I'm trying
go.
so hard. My kids used to go, "You're such a tryhard," and I'd be like, "Is that supposed to be an insult?" I feel like that's a really big compliment.
Yeah.
I am trying hard.
Do you have a strategy or any tips you can give the rest of us?
I'm going to say like the old salespeople strategy is to say it out loud once you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
When you forget it, here's the best strategy. I see you and I forget your name's Austin and I forget your name's Emily. And I say, "Oh, Emily, introduce yourselves. You're going to love this guy." And then when he says it, I go, "That's right."
Yeah.
So tell
That is a
people
good
you
tip.
meet to introduce themselves. Dad taught me that. Yeah.
All right.
That's a
There
great
you
trick.
go.
Yeah, that is a great trick. But yeah, I couldn't believe that the second time you ever talked to me.
That's
I was
nice
like,
of
oh my word.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I think we should transition into one of our final segments. It's our quick fire question segment.
Oh, gosh, I can't wait. This sounds fun. This feels like SNL or something. I'm ready.
Yeah, kind
Jimmy
of.
Fallon, like, let's go. Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm ready.
All right, so I just ask you a list of questions. You answer as fast as possible.
Okay. Ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So tea or coffee to start the day?
Tea.
How many cups?
Wait, time out. What if it's neither?
You can say neither.
Oh, neither.
What do you drink?
Caffeinated water.
Oh my goodness.
Those little packets.
Oh my gosh, I hate caffeinated water.
Do you really?
So I used to work construction with my dad, and at the beginning of every week, he would go and buy a case of water from the hardware store. I don't know why. I guess he was there. That's where he had to get it.
Right.
And the one time he bought a case of caffeinated water.
Game on.
And the next day we had to go buy more water because it was so nasty. I used it to make concrete. That was the only thing I could think to use it for.
No, it's just the little Crystal Light packets or little Great Value packets, like grape flavored, strawberry flavored.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Those
So it adds
flavored
flavor.
water. Oh,
Gotcha.
flavored water that
Okay.
has caffeine.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
So how
It's
much caffeine is
delicious.
in those?
Actually,
As many packets as you want.
I do like moderate myself. I want to say, is there 40 milligrams maybe?
That's probably about
But
right.
I spread it over like 3 waters. So now I'm like 3 waters deep and have my caffeine.
That's smart.
So you use one packet for 3 waters.
do,
So
yeah.
you don't even have that much caffeine.
I just spread it out, but my day doesn't end there. Then I transition about noon to Diet Dr. Pepper.
Okay. Gotcha. So
Yep.
there's some caffeine there too.
Never
Yes,
begrudge
yes.
someone at Dr. Pepper, though.
That's right. Yeah, no, so.
Gotcha.
So no tea. I like tea. It's okay. But coffee, I could never get onto coffee.
Really?
I tried.
Really?
I want to be that girl, but I'm just
It's fun. I love coffee.
see.
I love like going to
I've
different
tried
coffee
so
shops.
hard. My girls love it, and I'm like, I'll try it again. Nope, still tastes like coffee.
That's what I said. As soon as I taste a sip of it, I'm like, oh, there's a migraine. That's great. Thanks for that.
Okay, so sorry, we are not rapid fire when we got stuck on that. All right,
No,
Sorry,
you're good.
sorry.
That's the whole
caffeinated
purpose of
water
this.
to Diet Dr. Pepper. Next,
Then how many Diet Dr. Peppers do you drink?
2 a day.
2 a day? Okay. Interesting. All right. What is your favorite local business besides your own?
A local business beside my own. I have so many.
You have to pick one.
Las Churretas.
That's an excellent choice.
Great answer. Great answer. Who doesn't love some Las Churretas? All right. What is one word to describe entrepreneurship?
Courage.
Awesome. Why that word?
Because you have to have courage to show up every day when things go bad, when things go good, to be able to speak to it. Courage.
Great answer. What is the biggest business myth?
Oh, man. Biggest business myth.
Maybe if it's easier, maybe biggest healthcare myth.
Oh, I don't know if that's either.
Okay, whichever one's the easier question to
I don't know.
answer, then never mind.
I guess it's kind of what I'd said earlier, that you have to have all the answers, or that you can't be a humble leader, or that you have to, okay, I'm going to use like you have to put on airs. Is that, you know what that means? Like act like you're better than people to be in a leadership role. I love people who are real. Be real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. What is maybe one quote or piece of advice that you've clung to since you were young all the way up until today?
have a lot. I will say the one that just came top of mind, since this is supposed to be rapid fire, do it now. It's the bane of my husband's existence. And it's how I was raised. If a job needs done, if something's in front of you, now. We are the kings and queens of non-procrastination in my home growing up. I don't even know that was a word till I was grown. Do it now.
That's amazing.
That's another good T-shirt.
Yeah. Just do it now.
Let me just tell you where this translates really well into leadership. And that is, don't procrastinate hard conversations. Don't procrastinate hard. If you know, don't confuse that with not being thoughtful either. But if you know something needs said or something needs done, don't justify it away weeks later and months later and not address it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, what does the future look like for maybe yourself, Mercy Health? Is there anything on the horizon that you can share with us that you're really excited about?
Oh gosh, there's several exciting things they're coming down the road for Mercy Health. One I'll tell you is very tangible and is in process right now, and that is actually two. One is a women's health center on Charles Street. So kind of at the end of our entrance there, we've had some very charitable donors that have said they want a place for women who are kind of a little beyond childbearing years, but need some extra attention, care, specific care to that demographic. So our women's health center will be opening up early next year. Kind of in the same vein is across the country, we continue to see hospitals that are closing their labor and delivery departments. It's a hard business to stay in, if you will. And so we are doubling down on ours and renovating ours and going to make it better than ever because it's consistent with our values as a Catholic ministry, and it's also what our community needs. So I'm excited about those renovations that'll be forthcoming. And then I'll say just kind of the teaser for the final thing that I think about a lot that we have not addressed in our community yet, to my satisfaction, is the struggles that our youth are having from a mental health standpoint. We don't have any inpatient services for adolescents, and we don't have any intensive services either. We do have some people trying to do some great things, but I think there's a place for Mercy to really kind of lean into that particular challenge and do better by our young people.
That's amazing.
To be continued. Personally, stay healthy, help my kids figure out their next steps in life, spend time with my family. I love to travel, enjoy my parents, my nieces and nephews, my great nieces now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Since you
life.
love to travel, what's the favorite place you've ever been?
My husband and I, in October, along with my sister and brother-in-law, took an 8-day Mediterranean cruise for our 25th wedding anniversary, and that was pretty special. And last May, we spent 8 days in Rome as part of a Catholic Health Association kind of pilgrimage. Both completely different and incredibly meaningful. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Love that.
Feel super blessed.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all from us. So we just want to say thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I hope that was all right.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
I
That was
hope
a
you
really good
enjoyed
one.
it. Now I want to interview each of you and learn from you.
Well, hey, we're here if you have
You
any
are.
questions
All right.
for us.
Got it. I'm going to have to reschedule that one because Christmas will be here soon, right?
Right. Yeah, whatever. Well, all right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you guys for tuning in today for another great episode. And as always, we encourage you to like, share, comment, follow us wherever, and give us some comments. We read all of our comments. We love feedback. So if you have any suggestions, let us know. Thanks, guys.
And thank you to iHeart for having us in the studio today.
Yep. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.